Okay, now we're good. All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the call. My name's Kenny Rodriguez. For you guys that don't know, it's not WoTaBu, and I'm stoked that every single one of you guys are on here because it's Wednesday. And if you don't know, Wednesday is Skills Day. We're going to be developing some skills because, skills are everything. I love what my mentor told me once is that true wealth is ability. True wealth is your skill set. And tonight we're going to be talking about a skill that I really believe makes or breaks this business. If you know this skill and you apply it, it'll make your business. If you know it and you don't apply it, it won't. If you don't know it, you're lost, right? And this call is really designed about teaching you that skill, but more importantly, teaching you the mindset when you apply it so you actually get the full effect of what it is all about. And the skill that we're talking about tonight is the follow-up. And what I encourage you guys to do is make sure you're taking notes so you can retain this information. White paper, blue pen, right? That's right. You look at D-Rock's screen, he's got it. He's on it, right? Make sure you're taking notes so you can apply this information. But here's what I encourage you to do. This is what I always encourage my team to do when we get on a training call. Don't take notes for you. Take notes for your future team. Take notes for your team. Take notes like you're going to be teaching this training. Because the goal is that in the next couple weeks, the next couple months, you will be the one teaching the Wednesday night skills call. You will be up here and you will be sharing with your team, your group, and the company what it takes to master the follow-up and other skills like it. And so the first thing for you guys to write down, you got to know this, is that the fortune is in the follow-up. Hopefully you've already heard that a couple times. That is the truest statement ever. The fortune is in the follow-up. What really is the follow-up though? The follow-up is the process of really bringing someone, through the process of making their decision on whether this is right for them or not, right? Obviously there's closing and there's following up. Closing is, you get someone exposed, you get them on the op call, you get them in front of your upline and you try to help them make a decision. But what if they can't get started right away? What if there's money that they don't have to get started? What if they have some issues with the time commitment? Whatever it might be. What if there's some objections that you can't overcome at first on the spot? You can't get them to get started. The follow-up is the process of keeping them excited and keeping them plugged in long enough for them to make a decision on their own. And that is the most powerful thing you can ever do for someone, guys, is to let someone form their own opinion. Because what happens to a lot of people is they get involved in this industry and they make a decision based on their upline. They got hard closed, right? Or, they make a decision based on their friend or on being scared, but they never actually make a decision for themselves. The people that crush it in this industry from day one usually didn't get started on the spot. See, it took them a couple exposures to get started because they formed their own opinion. But when they made a decision, they went all in and they got massive results. So the follow-up is so huge. And I really compare it to this thing called the campfire effect, right? Think about if we all went to a bonfire tonight. We were all out, we were having a good time. We all know the party's always by the bonfire. You don't see this huge bonfire and then no people around it and they're all just in the woods in the cold. Ooh, this is lit. No, right? The party, the gathering, the energy is always around the campfire. And so when you're following up with people, what you're doing is you're keeping them excited. You're keeping them close to the campfire. You're reminding them what it feels like to be a part of a group of people like this, what it feels like to be a part of a movement like this. Remember when you were first checking this out and how people kept, bringing you back to this, while you were checking out videos, you were getting on calls, you were being followed up with. Think about it when you're at a bonfire and you have to go grab something from your tent and you walk away from the fire. What starts to happen? You start to get cold, don't you? You start to forget what it feels like to be warm. And a lot of times if we let people drift off and we don't keep them by the fire, what happens is they forget what it's like to be a part of something like this. They forget why they were so excited to get on the first call they ever got on in the first place. So we got to keep them, following up with. And here's the deal, guys. I would write this down as well because this is so key. We're in network marketing, right? Networking is a process and not an event. Networking is a process, not an event. So many of us try to treat it like an event. Hey, dude, I'm going to show you this thing really quick. Watch this video. Talk to my friend. You want to do it? Oh, wait, what do you mean you're not sure? No, it's like yes or no right now. No one wants to be that person. No one wants to be treated like that person, right? Networking is a process and not an event. But here's the funny thing. I want to give you guys a little bit of statistics to back this up. Behind our industry, this is statistics about our industry, right? 48% of people never follow up. Meaning 48% of people, if they expose someone and they never, if they don't get started on the spot, they never talk to them again. or they're too lazy, or they're too scared about what other people think to get them on another exposure. They're like, oh, well, they probably just didn't want to do it. Like, I don't want to bother them, right? 48% of people never follow up. 30% of people do a second exposure and then they give up. 12% of people get to a third exposure before they give up, right? They've followed up with them 3 different times. Wow. Only 10% though, check this out, only 10% do more than 3 exposures. So you've got 90% of people never make it past 3 exposures. They never really follow up. Now here's what's crazy. Let me give you some statistics when sales are actually made in business and in network marketing. 2% of sales are made in the first exposure, right? So 48% of people never even do the second, 48% of people only do the first exposure, and only 2% of sales are being made in that exposure. And they wonder why they never get anybody started. They do all these exposures, but they never follow up, and no one ever gets started. 3% of sales are done in the second exposure. 5% of sales are done in the third exposure, and 10% of sales are done in the fourth exposure. So only 20% of sales are done in the first 4 exposures, yet 90% of the people aren't even making it to the 4th exposure. Here's what's crazy. 80% of sales are done between the 5th and the 8th exposure. The 5th and the 8th exposure. So ask yourself, what percentage are you a part of? Are you only getting people exposed one time and then giving up? Are you taking it all away and going until they make a decision? Because at the end of the day, guys, we get paid to do one thing. Let's not let there be any delusion. Like, you're not getting paid to be on this call right now. You're not getting paid to post on the Facebook page. You're not getting paid to go to the events. We get paid to collect decisions, right? And that is why the fortune is in the follow-up, because most decisions are collected in the 5th to 8th exposure, not in the first time, not in the second time, not even the 3rd or 4th time, but between the 5th and the 8th time they see this information. And we get paid to collect decisions. Write this down. Professionals sort, amateurs convince. Professionals sort and amateurs convince. See, what professionals get is that they're emotionally detached from the outcome. They know that they just have to sort. They understand there's 4 aces in every deck, but there's 52 cards. And sometimes you're going to get a 3. Sometimes you're going to get a king. You're going to be so close to an ace, but you get a king instead. Sometimes you're going to get a 4, but then you get an ace. And you're like, oh my gosh, I got the ace. I can't believe it. I found one. But then you get a 2. And then you get another 5. And then you get a 7. But then you find another ace. And it's a process. And they fall in love with the process. So professionals sort while amateurs convince. They commit to mastering the follow-up. And this is what I encourage you guys to do. Never leave a third party, credibility exposure, right? A 2-on-1, an opportunity call, a home event, a live event, whatever it might be, without one of these three situations happening, right? Never leave an exposure without one of these situations happening. They say yes, they say no, or you book a next exposure. That's it. You notice how maybe wasn't one of those options? Remove maybe from your dictionary, guys. When someone says maybe, you're like, wait, what? I don't really know what that word is, to be honest. Like, unless it's a yes or a no or a next exposure, I don't really know what else we do right now. So every exposure you want to leave with a yes, a no, or next exposure, and every single one of those things are great. People tell me, hey, dude, he told me no. I go, oh my gosh, bro, you got your first no? Congratulations. Like, if you're on my team, like, you know what I'm talking about. You thought I was the weirdest person ever when I said this. You're like, did you hear me right? Like, I said no. No, that's great. That's so awesome, because you collected a decision. You need a certain number of no's to get a yes. And so just know, guys, it's a yes and no or next exposure. No maybes. And so if you understand that, what I'm going to give you is 3 keys to, really mastering the follow-up. 3 keys that if you apply, if you are doing the follow-up, you can really up your game. And some of these things might be things that you haven't heard, because they're things that me and my team specifically do to enhance our follow-up and our process. The first one is something that every single network marketing professional understands. I like this acronym. I use this acronym all the time. FAM-BAM, right? FAM-BAM, FAM-BAM. From a meeting, book a meeting. Really easy to remember. From a meeting, book a meeting. You have to understand that the point of any exposure is to simply book the next exposure. Where did I learn that? Really dope book. It's called GoPro. 7 Steps to Becoming a Network Marketing Professional by Eric Worre. Check it out. They have an amazing chapter. It's chapter 4 about following up with your prospects. Check out that book. He will talk about the same exact thing. Everybody talks about this in network marketing. It's a common theme. From a meeting, book a meeting. So what can you do, right? We've got, the dailies. We got to commit to the dailies, right? 313, 5 days a week for 5 years. If you really want to get the results, 313. That last 3 is follow-ups. What can you use it as a follow-up? Well, you can do a 2-on-1. You can get them on an op call. So like you get them in front of me and we do the exposure, but they're not ready to get started. You can get them in front of another person. Maybe, their issue is money. You get them in front of someone who had the same issue as them. Maybe their issue is time. You get them in front of Christian Jukes, who's like the busiest person ever, still is to this day, right? Get them in front of another person to hear the same information just from another face, another story. Get them on an op call. We have these weekly op calls all the time. You don't have to clear anyone's schedule. You just ask them, hey, dude, what are you doing Tuesday at 6, Tuesday at 9, whatever it is for wherever you live, right? And you just clear their schedule, get them on an op call. You can get them to events, have them hang out. It can be 5 of the people on the team in your local area. Just get them in the culture. You can even get them on the team calls. This is something that I do all the time. I'm like, hey man, I know you're not ready to get started yet, but when you do, I want you to know what it's going to be like, the benefit you're going to get from being a part of an organization like this. What are you doing Wednesday at 7? What are you doing Monday at 7? You got to see what it's like to be in the inside of this group. This is going to give you such an amazing perspective. And then you get them on a call like Monday's call, and it's all about belief. It's all about adding value to their life. And they're like, oh my gosh, I feel different when I get off calls like this. They're not trying to sell me. They're trying to show me. Get them on the team calls. And then lastly, guys, you can use the same upline. Don't make it an excuse. In my first company, I didn't have an upline at all, and I still made it happen. So that's the thing. If something's important to you, you'll make it happen. If it's not, you'll make an excuse. But with an upline, you can do it the same thing with the same person. Have them go watch the Rise of the Entrepreneur documentary and then have them talk about it with your upline. Have them go listen to the Business of the 21st Century audiobook and then hop on the phone with the same upline and talk about it. There's no excuse for not following up the right and correct way. We have so many opportunities. We have such a great, group of leadership that have provided so much for us to follow up the right way every single day. Just got to take advantage of it. That's really what it comes down to. But here's the deal. This is, maybe you're doing this, and what you run into a lot is what I used to run into a lot too. You're like, hey man, so yeah, let's meet up, Wednesday at blah, blah, blah. What time works for you? And they're like, well, I'll let you know. No one likes hearing that, right? They're like, oh, well, I'll just let you know. And if you don't book that next exposure, they're gone. Like, you should just figure that. If you don't bam, just figure you're never hearing back from them again, right? You have to do it. You just have to decide when you get on that call that the point of your exposure is to book the next exposure. But how do you overcome that? When someone's like, well, I'll let you know, or hey, dude, honestly, I'm really busy. I'm not sure what my schedule is yet. This is what I do. Leverage that they're busy and that you're busy. What do I mean by that? Gotta stay hydrated. What I mean by that is I go, hey man, honestly, I know that you're busy and I'm busy as well. So I think we both know that it makes most sense to just put in the schedule right now so that we don't miss out on it, right? What if you don't know your upline schedule? Book it anyway. That's what I always do. I always know that if I book it at least 2 days ahead of time, Jukes will do it or Luke will do it. I will find someone to do it, or I'll change it around a little bit. But the biggest mistake you could ever make is not putting something in the schedule. Get them to commit from it. Because if they don't commit to it, this is what will happen. You'll get off the call and you'll try to follow up with them, and you'll feel like you're bothering them. You're like, hey dude, so does Tuesday work? And then they don't text you back. But if you already set it up for Tuesday, they made a commitment and they're already expecting that you're going to do it. See, following up is just doing what you said you would do when you said you would do it. And when you do these things, guys, whether it's a team call or you're going to get them in front of the upline or on an op call, my biggest tip for you guys in this part, and I know this is a lot for FanBam, but it's because it's so important. It's the biggest key that you could ever take away when it comes to the follow-up, is don't leverage them hearing more about the business. Leverage whatever it's going to be. No one wants to hear more about the business, but everybody wants to hear a new story. Everybody wants to meet your friends. Everybody wants to experience the culture. Like, hey, dude, I can't wait for you to meet, Christian. I can't wait for you to hear his story. It's going to blow you away when you meet this guy. Dude, I cannot wait for us to meet up Tuesday at 7, because when you meet some of the other people involved in this group of people, you're just going to feel like you're part of the family. It will blow you away like it did for me. So leverage what it is you're doing and not just checking out the business more. The second big key. So the first big key is fam bam, right? From a meeting, book a meeting, date and time, get it in there before you get off the exposure. The second key to having a great follow-up is what professionals do, guys. Professionals in this industry, they condense exposures, right? Where like the average person would expose someone on a Monday and hop on a follow-up on a Thursday, and then maybe they don't get started because most people don't. We went over the numbers, right? So then they do another exposure the next Monday, and then they don't get started again. So they do the next exposure on a Thursday, and then the person stops texting them back, and they never even follow up from there. What professionals do is they try to book as many exposures in the smallest amount of time as possible, right? So like, yo, it's Monday, I expose you. Oh, well, I need to think about this. Oh, perfect, man. So when tonight could you have thought about all that? Okay, cool. So tomorrow at 5, like, would that work for us to talk again? Perfect. All right, awesome. Tuesday, we're gonna talk. Wednesday, I'm gonna get them on the skills call at 7. Thursday, we're gonna talk again. Friday, we're gonna go out with the team, and they're gonna experience a little bit of the culture. Exposure, 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 exposure. You see how I condensed? I did more exposures in 1 week than the average person does in 2 weeks for that one person, right? And a way that you can do this, say like, another thing that you'll run into if you're trying to condense exposures, but you're like, hey, well, they're not free till next Thursday. Leverage videos. Leverage videos. Maybe your schedules aren't going to match up till Thursday. This is what I do. I send them videos day to day until the next exposure. So they go, hey man, that's totally fine. It's Monday. We'll talk on Thursday. But if I send you a couple videos between now and then, and we keep up, would you check them out as I watch them? Yeah, perfect. Sounds good. Awesome. So then, I continue to have a conversation with them over text. We continue communicating, but I'll send them the Rise of the Rise of the Entrepreneur documentary. Right? I'm like, hey man, dude, you got to check this documentary out. Skip 50 minutes of Netflix and watch this instead. It's going to blow your mind. It blew mine. Or I'll send them like a Sam Colder or like a travel video. I'm like, dude, aren't you stoked to live like this? I start talking to them like they're already a part of the business. But leveraging videos has been one of the biggest tools for me because it does the work for me. It does the work for my upline. By the time they talk to my upline, they're more excited than the last time we talked because they've been watching all these travel videos. They've been watching the WoTaBu recap. They've been seeing the culture. And now they're like, wait, I do want to know more. Like, wait, what was the thing that didn't make me want to start on the spot last time? They even forget it because sometimes the videos will overcome their objection. And like I said at the beginning, they'll start to form their own opinion without you. And that is the most powerful thing you can ever do for someone. So number 2, professionals condense exposures, and they do so by leveraging videos. And then the third thing, guys, a lot of people aren't doing this, but I really encourage you to do this because it's so smart. Leverage your upline social media. Look at some of the leaders in this company. Go look at some of their pages. Look at their Instagrams. Look at the way they're living, the positivity they're pouring out on a continual basis. Jukes just started his own Facebook Live thing that he's doing every single week, providing value to the masses, right? If you go have them go check out some of these guys' social media, you have them follow some of those people, what are they going to do? They're going to be on their phone. They're going to be living their life, doing whatever they're doing, and then they're going to see a WoTaBu post. They're going to see travel. They're going to see adventure. They're going to see people that are excited. And they're click on that profile and they'll be like, oh, that was one of those dudes. And naturally, just by living their life and doing what they always do, they're going to have positivity and WoTaBu and everything that you're about coming to them on a daily basis, whether you're talking to them or not. And what are they going to do? They're going to actually come back to you. This actually happened to me before. Way back when we were first starting the company, Peter exposed this girl. I don't know if you guys know Brianna Drake, but she is awesome. She's out there in Michigan. If you've never met Brianna, she's so dope, right? But he exposed Brianna. I think we got a two-on-one call, and she got exposed to what this was. It wasn't for her at the time, and they sort of lost touch. But she followed me on social media, and I posted about these Elite Network T-shirts. She actually bought one before she was involved in the team. But in her mind, she was still like, I want to do this. I just can't get started right now. And then she hit me up and she's like, hey, do you have Peter's number? I lost it, but I'm ready to get started. I'm like, wait, you're ready to get started? She's like, yeah, I've been keeping up with all your guys' adventures. I can't miss out. I sent her Peter's number. She got started. She was at the Michigan Regional. Just by keeping up with us and our lives and what we're doing, her life changed. It's a natural follow-up. So in summary, guys, 3 keys to your follow-up, right? Fam bam, from a meeting, book a meeting, the date and the time. There's no point of exposure if not to book the next exposure. Number 2, professionals condense the time between each exposure. And then number 3, leverage your upline and this group's social media to provide a natural follow-up for the people you're sharing this with. And so really quick, dude, what I actually want to do is I want to pass it over to a special guest who's really going to share his experience of getting involved in this industry. This is a guy who's absolutely killed it. He's been involved for such a short amount of time, but he's risen to the top of this leadership group. He's risen to the top of WoTaBu in such a short amount of time. And he's pretty young, honestly. He's very new to this industry. But we had a conversation. He was doing so many exposures and he was getting people started. He was working that 2% in the first, exposure ratio for sure. He was just doing so many exposures. It's ridiculous. We sat down, we started talking about following up, and he started to follow up better and better and really improve that skill set. And his entire business has changed. And so I really want to pass it over to JJ Spittler. If you made it on the call, just unmute your mic, man, and really just share, with us, like, what it is that really changed everything for you, where you were, struggling with that follow-up. People were getting exposed, but they weren't getting started, and why things have changed and why things are better now.
Perfect. Kenny, can you hear me?
Yeah. It's a little quiet, but I can hear you.
Okay. Perfect. So yes, like my first 10 days in the industry, like I saw some great success, but then I kind of started just really struggling with the follow-up. No problem really with the invite, but my follow-up was definitely subpar, and I was just doing a lot of exposures like Kenny was saying, but just people weren't getting started, and I wasn't getting them on another call, and I didn't send them any videos. And then just after a day of like not texting them or getting them into contact with someone else, like it's like they fell off the face of the earth, and I like couldn't come into contact with them again. It was like the point of no return type of thing. But then just with talking with Kenny, and he shared the statistic too. I looked at this, like the 80% of sales are on the 5th to 12th contact. And I was like, looking at that, I was like, okay, I really need to step this up. And we ended up talking about this. So just before looking at that, like I really stretched out my follow-up and just would go a couple weeks without a decision. And me and Kenny really talked about compressing the follow-up, whether it was send a video regarding the culture of the company to a person who just loves the family aspect of it, or like a traveling video to a person who just loves the traveling side of things, or like the rise of the entrepreneur video to like a person who is heavily business minded. Just really timely fashioning what niches people like about the business is the big thing that I like to do as close as possible to get that 5th to the 12th exposure. And the second way is just to get them on team calls to see the other side of the business, or just another upline call for more credibility. Just because like we're all busy people, and to not waste our time, we need to have them like at a yes or a no just as soon as possible, and just really compress those follow-ups, kind of like Kenny said. So like a decision by the first few days. And just with starting to do this process and compressing the follow-up and getting them to a decision within 3 to 4 days, it just helped me a lot. More of my prospects just make decisions faster. And it really was like a paradigm shift change for me, just being able to look at that and get them exposed to the business as soon as possible, whether it was a video, whether it was an upline call, all those things, and just really combating that to what they need most, whether they like each side of different things. And then just from there, it's like decisions happen really quick. And I was just aware that it's just more important to spend like 1 minute with 100 people rather than just 100 minutes with one person. I'll say that one more time because that super resonated just with me. It's like, it's more important to spend 1 minute with 100 people rather than 100 minutes with one person, for sure. It's just all about ratios and just being able to show them the business as much as possible. But with that, that's kind of my 2 cents with everything. That's how I really had that shift, and it helped me grow a lot. But I'll pass it back to Kenny to really finish this thing off.
Perfect, man. Appreciate you, dude. And everything he said, guys, like take away from that, because this is a guy, like I said, who was putting in the work. And that's who I really want to talk to on this call right now. If you're really putting in the work like JJ was, but you're not getting the results, you're frustrated because you're like, I keep doing the exposures, I keep doing the calls, but I've got 1 or 2 people on my team, or I haven't gotten someone started yet. I guarantee it comes down to this. It's the follow-up. It's the close. You got to master these skills, get better and better, commit to mastering the follow-up, and watch everything change. Because it's sort of like, imagine going to college, right? And pursuing this like 4-year degree thing, right? Where you go and every single year you're showing up, right? You show up to class, you do the tests, right? You sit through the group projects. Hopefully you get a good group, right? We've all been there, right? And you do everything it takes. You pay the money it takes to get this 4-year degree. But towards the end, you realize that you just really aren't feeling this one class. And it's like that one class, it's like, it's a little bit of a pain in the butt. It's mostly business, like busy work. But, you know, honestly, like, it's just like an easy A. Like if you just do it, you just do that one thing, like you've got it. But if you don't take that one class, if you don't pass that one class, doesn't matter. Though 4 years of work, all the money, all the time, all the effort that you put in, you don't end up with a degree because you don't have all of the credits, right? Following up is the same thing. Following up is that one thing. If you don't do it, doesn't matter how big your list is. Doesn't matter how many invites you make. It doesn't matter how good the presentation is or how great the videos are. You're not following up. You're not getting the result that you worked so hard for. So make the switch, because here's the thing, guys, and this is what I'll share with you. And we've really gone over what it takes to do the follow-up. If you didn't know what the follow-up was or how this is, it probably blew your mind, because it blew my mind when I read this book. I had no clue the follow-up even existed. I'm like, well, that's why these people don't just come back to me. I thought they were going to really let me know, right? Once I read this book and I learned about how to follow up, it blew my mind. But what started to happen was I knew how to follow up, but that's not what was holding me back. See, a lot of times it's not what you do, but it's how you feel about what you do, right? What held me back from having a dynamic organization of people all over the US and all over the world, where I have leaders that are building leaders, and what held me back from living this life where I'm genuinely happy and I feel like I'm achieving in this business and I'm speaking on stages and doing all these kind of things, what held me back was how I felt about what I was sharing with people. See, I cared way too much about what other people thought. I cared way too much, and maybe you do too. Maybe you care way too much. If you're being real, you care way too much about what other people think. And here's what Bob Proctor told me. He said, Kenny, most people don't think, so don't worry about it, right? At the end of the day, it's like, it's selfish to ever think that people are thinking about you and judging you. Because think about it. What are they thinking about? Well, what's she thinking, right? You get in a circle of friends and you're all talking. Everybody else is way too worried about what people think of them to actually think about the people they're around. No one's actually thinking about anyone besides themselves. We're selfish people by nature. So the most selfish thing you could ever think is worrying about like what other people think, right? I told people, you know, what held me back was I told people what they wanted to hear, not what they needed to hear, because I cared about what they thought, right? And most importantly, honestly, I was afraid of rejection. I was afraid of failing. I was afraid of failure. It's like, I didn't want to try because I was worried about failing, right? And so maybe some of these issues that I've sort of like identified that I had, maybe you have them right now. Maybe that's what's keeping you back. And if that's your case, this is what you got to do. You got to do two things. You got to recognize and you got to decide. Recognize the negative programming. It's just programming. It's not you. It's programming that you've been programmed with. It's going through your head. Recognize what that programming is, and then decide to change it. And when you decide to change it, everything will change for you. You got to understand what it is that we have, guys. Like with this opportunity, we are helping so many people. Think about what it's done for you. The easiest way to do that is think about what it's done for you. How did WoTaBu make you feel when it came into your life? How did you feel at the Michigan Regional? How are you going to feel when you're at Lake Powell? That's what you're sharing with other people. You got to realize that when you follow up with people, you're not bothering them. You are blessing them. You are blessing them with this opportunity. We don't bother people. We bless people. You have to know this. When you know what you know and you know what you have, how you do it changes. And if you feel different about it, they're going to feel different about it, right? If you're excited about it, they're going to be excited about it. If you believe in it, they're going to believe in it. But it takes you before they ever do it. You have to do it first. And so I'm going to end this call really quick, guys, with 5 keys to your mindset. 5 keys to your mindset when you are following up, when you are building this business on a daily basis. You apply these mindsets, everything will change. Number 1, the more you say, the more they judge. The more you say, the more they judge. Vice versa, the less you say, you guessed it, the less they judge, right? Say less. JJ touched on it. Say less to more people. And what I tell people to do, especially when they're new, is get good at doing this. Look at my screen. Get good at doing this. Pointing. Point to the videos. Point to the website. Point to your upline. Point to the calls. Say less to more people. Point more, right? Dude, you got to check out this video. It's so sick. Bro, once you hear my friend's story, it's going to blow your mind. Like you won't be able to sleep tonight. Oh, you have to get on this team call. The information being shared is going to change your entire life, whether you get started or not. Point more, say less. Number 2, people will be more impressed. You got to get this. People are going to be way more impressed by the height of your enthusiasm rather than the depth of your knowledge. When you light yourself on fire, the whole world will come to watch you burn, right? The whole world will come to watch you burn. So people are going to be way more impressed by the height of your enthusiasm rather than the depth of your knowledge. What I always share with people is this quote: the most powerful recruiting tool is the human heart on fire. Because when people see you lit, they aspire to be that same way. It's attractive. People with energy, it's attractive. People follow people who are passionate. That's number 2. Number 3, sort of goes along with that. You're gonna, and this is just a warning, just so you guys know, like, be prepared. You're gonna lose 1 out of 10 for being way too excited. You're gonna lose 1 out of 10 for being way too excited. Like right now, the amount of energy I have about this subject and what I'm talking about and all this information and all this, like everything I'm giving you, some of you guys are probably like, he's way too excited about this. Like, this is a little weird for me, right? And that's fine. You're gonna lose 1 out of 10, right? Couple people already hopped off. We lost 1 out of 10. Probably that's the ratio. But here's the deal. You keep the other 9. You get the other 9. So you'll lose 1 out of 10 for being too excited, but you get the other 9. What happens if you're not excited enough? You lose those 9 and you keep the 1. And that 1's not that much fun to be around because he doesn't like being excited, right? It's way better to keep the 9 that enjoy your energy and enjoy your excitement. Enthusiasm is the most contagious emotion ever. When you're in a room full of excited people, you get excited. If you step in a room and you're excited and no one else is, you get the room excited. Enthusiasm is contagious, guys. Have enthusiasm. Don't be scared to get excited about this opportunity. Don't get scared to be able to go out there and share this with people. Because remember, you're blessing people. You're not bothering them. Remember what this has done for you. Number 4, successful recruiting is based off timing, not talent. Misconception in our industry. Oh, well, that guy's on my list. He's been there forever, but I'm just not good enough yet. Or, I don't have the results. Like, I'm not going to hit up that person yet. I'm going to skip over their mind. A lot of us have experienced this. You hit up that person, whether you're doing like an exposure challenge or whatever, and that person's been looking for something like this for months. They've been praying for it. They needed it the most, and they get started and they crush it, right? Successful recruiting is not based off talent. It's based on timing. So don't wait. Why would you wait? There's no way to know what the timing will be, but a sure way to know that your recruiting won't be successful is to not do anything at all and wait on talent. Wait for you to be good enough. Oh, once I have the results, then I'll do it. Don't wait for talent. Take advantage of timing. And then lastly, guys, last key for your mindset, professionals. You're gonna have a lot more fun too if you do this, right? Trust me. Professionals give energy to those that give them energy back, right? Sometimes it's like you're doing a lot of exposures and maybe you feel a little drained. It's because you're trying to be an amateur and convince people instead of being a professional and sort people, right? You'll start to notice that a lot of times if we're doing calls for you, it's like, what happens? Sometimes you have that person that's really excited and your upline ends up talking to them for like 45 minutes, an hour, right? And they're just talking not even about the business. And then there's those times where like you get the person on and they obviously don't want to hear a word of what they're saying. And they do like a 15-minute exposure, right? It's because professionals give energy to people that give them energy, right? Prioritize those people in your life and you're never going to feel drained. Know that, know what we have and just don't be desperate. You got to realize, again, what are we doing? We're blessing people. We're not bothering people. You got to realize in this world right now, in our generation, everybody's talking about problems. We're talking about a solution. And so with that, guys, here's the action step. This is what I want you guys to do. I want you to look over the notes you just took. I want you to look over the conversation we just had and figure out what your one big takeaway is. One's not just a quote, but something you're going to apply into your life this week, in your business this week. I want you to post on the page and finish that post off by saying, I commit to mastering the follow-up and blessing people with WoTaBu. So post your biggest takeaway. And lastly, finish that post off with saying, I commit to mastering the follow-up and blessing people with WoTaBu. Thank you so much, guys, for hopping on tonight's call. Love every single one of you, and I will see you on Monday on our mentorship call. Appreciate you.